Good evening, and welcome to my first attempt at a screencast. My name is Rafael Laforgia, and I am a doctoral candidate at East Stroudsburg University. Today, my presentation will be from Peter DeWitt's Collaborative Leadership book, The 6 Influences That Matter Most. Specifically, I'll be focusing on Chapter 3 of DeWitt's book, which is about Collective Teacher Efficacy. Now, what is Collective Teacher Efficacy? Well, basically what it is, it's a shared mindset by all the teachers in the building that their abilities and their work and everything they put into their daily instruction has a positive impact on student learning. So why did I choose this? Because in the Collective Leadership book, it discusses the most important influences on student achievement identified in John Hattie's meta-analysis. Now, Hattie identified any influence above a 0.40, which he refers to as the hinge point, as a highly effective practice. Collective teacher efficacy has an effect size of 1.57, which is 4 times the hinge point. Now, why is this relevant to me? Well, I chose this topic because collective teacher efficacy has the greatest influence on student achievement, according to Hattie and DeWitt. As a school administrator, the climate we create in our buildings, the feedback we provide to our teachers, and the support we provide to all our stakeholders can have a lasting and direct impact on student learning. Now, DeWitt had a quote that said, "Most teachers and students don't wake up in the morning wanting to be difficult." And I could say in my 20 years in education, I don't think I've ever met one teacher that didn't think they were doing the right thing for children in the classroom. No teacher wants to be ineffective. No teacher wants to feel stupid. No student wants to feel stupid. So, how do we develop their talents and motivation? We do that through focusing on their human capital. What is human capital? It's the individual's knowledge, their skills, their capabilities, their qualifications, and their training that contribute to a person's talent. But here's the challenge. How do we as leaders get the very best out of everyone with whom we work with? Well, I think as a leader, and my fellow leaders are out there, we all know that we need to create the right conditions. And in order to create collective efficacy among teachers, leaders need to create the right school climate. In this effective climate, leaders are motivational, they're supportive, they encourage open communication among all stakeholders, including students, teachers, and parents. These leaders enroll others in creating a shared vision for student learning. When this inclusive climate exists, teachers are more willing to take risks because they know they have the collective support of both their peers and their leaders. Now, back in 2016, Todd Whitaker put out this very clever tweet that says, "When the principal sneezes, the whole school catches a cold." Well, obviously, this is just saying that every decision that we make, every piece of feedback we give, everything we say, everything we do has a huge impact on our teachers, in our classrooms, on our students, and it just shows you how important a school leader's job really is. Now, part of our job, and that falls directly on the leader's shoulder, is to motivate everyone within our reach to do their very best. Our leaders need to motivate our teachers, support risk-taking, and then our teachers need to motivate our students to support risk-taking so that our students feel motivated and know that they are supported. Collective teacher efficacy only occurs in supportive and inclusive school climate. Creating this climate greatly rests on the shoulders of the building leader. This arduous task is well worth the time and energy it takes, and this positive climate will ultimately trickle down to student learning. Now that we got this right climate in place and we've created a culture, now what do? As DeWitt says, it's not enough to hire and retain the brightest teachers. They must also believe they can successfully meet the challenge of the task at hand. Now, this quote obviously refers to self-efficacy. And although the presentation is on collective efficacy, this cannot happen unless each teacher has a high level of self-efficacy. Teachers need to truly believe they impact the lives of each and every student they encounter. Well, how is this done? We have some essential steps that must be taken as a building leader. First, we maintain a laser-like focus on increasing the growth and development of all teachers. In the right school climate, teachers will want to learn and refine their craft. As a leader, it's essential to model that you are a learner too. In fact, you have to be the lead learner in the building. Only then will teachers feel supported in pursuing new knowledge about best research-based practices and are willing to take instructional risk. My second bullet says acknowledge and proactively act on within-school variability of your teachers. Now, within each school, variance refers to differing levels of teacher within a school building. I think we can all agree in our buildings, we have teachers that are phenomenal and teachers that are challenging. If you had to rate your teachers from most effective to least effective, most school leaders could probably do that. However, this should not be the case. As leaders, we need to work very hard on increasing the effectiveness of all teachers. Doing so will result in a significant impact on student learning and achievement. The ultimate goal of a school leader who is working toward collective teacher efficacy is to bring the effect of all teachers on student learning up to an extremely high standard. Now, my last bullet is build teacher self-efficacy and the foster collective teacher efficacy. Obviously, that's the whole purpose of this presentation. Here's my Captain America slide, I like to call it. As you can see, and the focus with the star in the middle is our student learning, which is our ultimate goal. How do we get there? Well, in order to see an increase in student learning and achievement, teachers must possess self-efficacy. Then they need to work closely with their colleagues under the leadership of the building principal to build collective efficacy. If teachers believe they have the power and influence to positively impact students, they will hold their students to high expectations because they would truly believe their students, regardless of socioeconomic status, ethnicity, and family life. This next graphic starts with student learning at the top, which is always our primary goal, and that's why it's at the pinnacle of the circle. We know from Hattie's work that collective efficacy has a large effect on student learning. Collective efficacy can't happen without building each teacher's self-efficacy first. And this can only happen if the school leader creates a climate where teachers feel supported and motivated to take instructional risk. School climate is the foundation on which everything else must rest. This climate needs to be strong in order to build self and collective efficacy among the staff. When this happens, student learning increases. Now, obviously, all of this is easier said than done. So, our first challenge, and I challenge all of my fellow educators, my fellow leaders, is to reflect on your own self-efficacy. What is one thing you can do tomorrow to help create the right climate for developing collective efficacy of those you lead? For myself, my challenge is how can the feedback I offer to those I lead help build their self-efficacy? And how can that create a positive climate where collective efficacy is pervasive? Now, I chose this topic because in my Project 3B, we'll be focusing on using formal and informal walkthroughs to provide feedback to our teachers. Now, this is only a small part of helping students build that self-efficacy and, in the end, a collective efficacy. I thank you all for joining me this evening. I hope you found some meaningful information that you can use going forward in your role as a leader, regardless of your profession. Thank you and have a great evening.